Before the Game of Thrones, before the Starks and the Lannisters fought for a crown, a different kind of story unfolded. A story of a simple hedge knight and the boy who walked beside him, carrying a secret that could shake the Seven Kingdoms.
But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to our new YouTube channel.
We find ourselves a year after their first adventure, in the heart of the Reach. But this is not the lush, bountiful land of song and story. The Reach is dying. The sun is a merciless eye in a cloudless sky. Rivers have shrunken to muddy trickles, and the fields are nothing but cracked earth and brittle, yellowed stalks. This is the world Sir Duncan the Tall now calls home. He's sworn his sword to Ser Eustace Osgrey, an old knight clinging to the ghosts of a bygone era. A man who once commanded castles and men before he chose the wrong side in the Blackfyre Rebellion and lost everything. Now, all that remains is Standfast, a lonely, weathered tower surrounded by miles of thirsty land. Dunk and his sharp-witted young squire Egg spend their days trying to hold this small world together. One morning, Dunk makes a grim discovery. The stream, the checky water, the only source of life for leagues around, has stopped. It's gone. Inside the tower, Ser Eustace trembles with a familiar ancient rage. He spits a name, a curse. Lady Rohanne Webber. The Red Widow, he calls her. He claims she's built a dam upstream, stealing their water, choking the life from his land. The name hangs in the air, thick with rumor. They say she's a beautiful woman, but a deadly one. A woman who has buried 4 husbands, each one leaving her richer, more powerful. Eustace, his chest puffed with pride his station can no longer support, gives his order. Dunk is to ride to her castle, Coldmoat, and demand she tear down the dam, demand their water back. And so, Dunk and Egg set out, riding under the oppressive heat toward the home of the Red Widow. The gates of Coldmoat are imposing, and the men who guard them are not. They look at Dunk, this giant of a man in his scuffed and dented armor, and they laugh. A poor hedge knight come to make demands of their lady. They make him wait and wait. When Lady Rohanne Webber finally appears, she's nothing like the venomous spider from Eustace's tales. She's young, her eyes are sharp, intelligent, and she carries herself with an unnerving confidence. A long, single braid of fiery red hair hangs over her shoulder. Dunk, ever earnest, makes his demand. Release the stream. She listens, her expression unreadable, and when he's finished, she answers not with a defense, but with an accusation of her own, a bombshell. She tells him that some of Ser Eustace's peasants crossed the border and burned her mill to the ground. One of her men was killed in the fire. Her voice is level, cold as stone. You call me a thief, but your master is a murderer. The air crackles. She gives her own warning. Unless Ser Eustace makes restitution for the mill and the man he killed, her soldiers will march on Standfast. They will take what is owed. Dunk rides away, his ears burning with humiliation. He feels a fool, but something about her, it sticks with him. She was fierce, yes, but he couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't unjust. Back at Standfast, the questions begin. Dunk confronts Eustace, looking the old man in the eye. Did his people burn her mill? Eustace falters. He won't meet Dunk's gaze. He mumbles that, well, perhaps it happened. An accident, surely. A spark from a torch. But apologize? Pay for the damages? Never. His pride, the last thing he truly owns, will not allow it. He begins to ramble, not about the stream, but about old glories, about the rebellion, about the red dragon he fought for and the black dragon he fought against. He still calls himself a lord, though his lands are nothing more than dust. And in that moment, Dunk understands. This was never about water. It's about an old man's wounded pride, a man who refuses to accept that the world has moved on without him. Meanwhile, Egg, being Egg, does some snooping. He learns more about the Red Widow, how she inherited her lands as a young girl, how she was forced into one marriage after another just to survive, and how each of her husbands met a suspiciously early end. You see the picture coming into focus. A widow fiercely guarding her independence against the world of grasping men. An old knight clinging to a past that's long since turned to ash. And Dunk, our hedge knight, stuck right in the middle, trying to figure out what honor demands in a world of gray. The fragile standoff doesn't last long. One of Eustace's other men, a brutish hedge knight named Bennis of the Brown Shield, decides to take matters into his own hands. He rides to the dam. A fight breaks out. Bennis draws his sword and slashes one of Lady Rohanne's guards across the face. And with that one cut, the spark finds the tinder. Rohanne's soldiers begin to gather at the border, their armor gleaming in the sun. War is no longer a threat, it's a promise. Eustace, lost in a haze of fury and nostalgia, calls his own men to arms. A handful of peasants, farmers with hay forks and shields made of splintered wood. Dunk looks at this pathetic little army and sees only one thing: a slaughter. He pleads with the old man, make peace, apologize. But Eustace is deaf to reason. So Dunk does the only thing a true knight can do. He takes matters into his own hands. He mounts his horse and rides, alone, back to Coldmoat. He has to stop a war that has no reason to be fought. Inside the great hall of Coldmoat, Lady Rohanne is waiting. She stands tall, a silhouette against the torchlight, her red hair like a flicker of flame. Dunk enters. He carries no weapon. He feels no fear. They argue again, but this time, something is different. He's not just delivering his master's message. He speaks from his own heart. He talks about oaths, about honor, about the cost of a pointless peace. She listens, and he sees a flicker of something in her eyes. Amusement, perhaps. Maybe even respect. You're a fool, Sir Duncan, she says, her voice softer now. But a good fool. The world could use a few more of those. As he speaks, a low rumble echoes from outside. Thunder, a sound this land hasn't heard in a long, long time. Their anger, their hostility, seems to melt away, replaced by a quiet, somber understanding. He sees the loneliness behind her strength. She sees the simple, stubborn honesty in him, a quality she has likely never found in a knight. As he turns to leave, she whispers, "Tell your master the rain is coming." But neither of them truly knows what that rain will bring with it. The next morning, it happens. Ser Eustace's pitiful army marches toward the dam. On the other side, Lady Rohanne's men wait, a line of polished steel in grim faces. But before the first blow can be struck, Dunk rides his horse directly between them. His voice booms across the field. "Let the gods decide. Trial by combat." A duel. One champion for each side. The winner takes all. Rohanne agrees. Her champion steps forward, Sir Lucas Inchfield, a man known for his skill and his cruelty. And for Ser Eustace, his champion is Sir Duncan the Tall. The fight is brutal. It's a clash of steel and will. Lucas is quicker, his sword a blur, but Dunk is stronger. He weathers the storm of blows, his shield taking a savage beating. They trade cuts and bruises, both bleeding, both exhausted. Finally, with a desperate roar, Dunk brings his sword down with all his might. It shatters Lucas's shield, the force of it throwing the other knight to the muddy ground. Dunk stands over him, sword raised, and lets him live. He spares him.
In the world George R.R. Martin built, we often look for the grand, the clash of kings, the shadow of dragons. But in the Sworn Sword, he gives us something else entirely, a quieter Westeros. Here, there are no thrones being fought for, no great wars consuming the continent. There are just people. People caught in a land baked dry by a relentless sun, their loyalties and their lives as fragile as the cracked earth beneath their feet. It's a story where pride, a lord's wounded pride, can fester like a poisoned wound, costing lives, where old grudges stretch on long after anyone remembers how they even started. And into this parched, unforgiving landscape rides a hedge knight, Sir Duncan the Tall, Dunk, a man who fights not for crowns, not for glory, but for something far heavier, his conscience. The tale unfolds under a sky that refuses to weep, and as the tension builds, as swords are drawn over a simple stream of water, you begin to understand the fight isn't really about the stream. It's about honor. It's about what a knight is sworn to do when no one of consequence is watching. When the rain finally does come, it is more than just a storm. It is a moment of redemption, washing away the blood and the bitterness. Dunk's victory isn't measured in lands or titles. It's measured in the simple, difficult act of doing the right thing. And in a world of lions and stags, of ambition and betrayal, that choice, that simple adherence to an oath, is what makes him the truest knight of them all. If you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe to Long Story Short for more tales from the world of Game of Thrones. Next episode, The Mystery Knight, the final chapter of Dunk and Egg. Until then, keep your oaths, and may your path be honorable.